Hello, and welcome to the Art of Living Well podcast. I'm Stephanie May Potter, and I'm here with my co-host, Marnie Marmet.
We created the Art of Living Well podcast to empower you to live your happiest, healthiest, and most authentic life. Each week, we will bring you inspiring and motivating conversations covering health and wellness topics, including fitness, mindset, food, travel, product reviews, and strategies from a variety of experts, including our own bank of knowledge.
We are excited to educate, motivate, and inspire you to change the way you perceive health and discover your art of living well. Get ready to feel inspired. Hello and welcome to episode number 15 of the Art of Living Well podcast. I'm Stephanie May Potter and I'm here with my co-host Marnie Marmet.
And today we want to talk to you guys about sugar because sugar is such a hot topic in the world right now. Like you hear about it. Yes, it's bad for you, right? We all know sugar is bad for you.
But yet it's so addicting.
And why is it bad for you? And how do you create a healthy relationship with sugar? That's hard.
Yes, because I think when you tell people, oh, just quit sugar or just remove all sugar from your diet, I think one, people are confused as to what that even means. And two, for most of us, if you say don't have something, then we immediately want to have it and we're creating an unhealthy relationship with sugar.
Absolutely. So Stephanie, how has sugar been for you? What's your relationship like with sugar?
Well, as you know, Marnie, I even tell people sometimes that I'm a recovering sugar addict. So I definitely had a true sugar addiction. I mean, every single day, and this is going back to my youth, but even in my 20s and 30s, I mean, I would still binge on sugar. I used to bring, and I'm sharing, I've never really even told anyone this, but peppermint patties were my thing. And this is when
I love peppermint patties.
These are so good.
They're so good.
I would buy a bag of them, and this is when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and I was working. I remember being when I was pregnant with a couple of my kids, and I would allow myself so many, and I would bring them to work, and I would have to eat them every day after lunch, and it was just my treat. But there was sugar in my life all the time, and I didn't even necessarily realize it. So, just think about oatmeal, that were all those packets of oatmeal that were sweetened with maple syrup and all those other ingredients, and drinks, and lots of sugar and artificial sweeteners in my coffee. So I've always had to have sugar in my life, and a lot of times it was fake stuff, but it was fat-free, so I thought it was okay.
So how did you kind of change that?
It's when I really started paying attention to what I was eating and my gut health, and this is probably now between 5 and 8 or 9 years ago, just started eating more whole, nourishing, real foods. Mm-hmm. And, probably 4 or 5 years ago, started looking at the sugar labels for the first time. And honestly, I didn't wake up one day and said I wasn't going to eat sugar anymore. I think I just naturally started crowding out the foods. It's what we talk about. When you start providing your body with the nutrients that it needs, it naturally sort of rejects, if you will, the fake stuff. And I remember going to birthday parties when our kids were little, and those big cakes from Costco, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because, they were our favorite cakes, and they were only $30, and they fed 50 people. But that frosting, my sister and I would go along the cake and just with our fingers, just lick the frosting when everyone had left, the party.
So I have to admit, I still love frosting. It's one of my guilty pleasures.
Of course, the buttercream frosting.
I do love frosting.
So, and I couldn't ever have enough. And once I started, it was a slippery slope. But now I can look at one of those cakes and it doesn't look good to me. And I still love sugar in other forms, but my body just craves less of it and more the dark chocolate and the sweets that are made with more maple syrup and honey and some of the other sugars. So I still do crave sugar, but sometimes if I eat fruit or sweet potatoes, that can satisfy my sugar craving now.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that, sugar is just really can affect your health. And why? How can it affect your health? It's so addictive. They've come out with so many studies now that sugar is as addictive as cocaine, if not more, right? And you can, like Stephanie was saying earlier, you can Google that and see a lot of information on that. And it's almost like you can't help yourself. Your body is craving that because it's addicted to it.
Exactly.
And it's this endless cycle. It's like the more you feed it, the more you want it. The more you want it, the more you feed it. And it keeps going and going and going, right?
Right.
And there are just so many negative effects that your body can have from sugar. I mean, there's diabetes, like one of the number one issues with sugar.
Which is on the rise because
Yep.
there's so much sugar in all the processed foods out there.
And originally, I think that researchers believed that obesity was the major cause of diabetes. And now they're seeing that sugar actually has a greater effect, which is so interesting. And then there's like tooth decay, right?
I know.
Like,
and if you think about like young kids, for parents out there and their kids are getting cavities and fillings, you know, talk about that with your doctor, but think about what your kids are consuming. You know, obviously they have to be brushing their teeth, but the foods that you eat directly impact the health of your teeth.
and kids can eat whole, healthy foods too. Like just because they're kids doesn't mean they need to eat sugar. I think even when I was a new young mom, I thought, oh, well, you need to have M&Ms and you need to, like all these fun treats and a cupcake if you went to the doctor. Let's go get a cookie.
Exactly. I mean, think when you're potty training your kids. I gave them M&Ms because
oh my God, I did that too.
And I still
M&M
probably would have
training.
done the same thing, maybe. But I think as they get older, you can do less of that.
Well, and you're teaching them that the reward for doing something good is a sugary treat. And I feel like I grew up that way. And for a long time, I would think, oh, I did this today. I'm going to go get a treat, like whatever that is.
Exactly.
Go get yourself a massage or, play a game with your child or do something that's more of an experience maybe, right?
Exactly.
Instead of...
I mean, using food as a reward in general isn't healthy for adults or kids to have a healthy, intuitive relationship with food.
Right.
But don't beat yourself up over the fact that you have sugar cravings because it is very normal, and we'll go into some of the other kind of risks and issues as it comes to eating too much sugar.
Like the unhealthy gut. I mean, gut health is such a huge topic these days. And when you have an unhealthy gut, your immune system is weakened, your digestion's wonky, you have inflammation in the body, and sugar just really can alter the composition of your gut. They say actually within 24 hours of eating it. So that is remarkably fast, right?
Yes. Well, and the bad bacteria in your gut loves sugar. So the more sugar you feed your gut, the more unhealthy your gut becomes, causing a whole host of issues, especially this time of year, being cold and flu season. We want to try to keep our immune system strong.
But then, you think to yourself, so what? Are they trying to scare us? Like, is sugar this mean old monster that's wreaking havoc in the world? And yes, it is. But there is a way to have a healthy relationship with sugar. Like, realistically, it's going to be very hard to cut out 100% of sugar in your life, right?
And nor should you necessarily, right? I mean, 100%.
Yes. So it's like trying to find that sweet spot, literally,
Yes,
of where you can, indulge a little bit here and there when it feels right to you and live a, mostly sugar-free life, right?
Exactly. And, I think when I indulge and have no guilt, I think here's where I've progressed, is when I do eat sugar now, I do it because I want to, and I've chosen that opportunity is when I want to indulge, and I don't wake up with the regret and the guilt that I once used to, and I think a lot of people feel that way. And I can reset very quickly, and so I think that's the key, making sure you don't let one evening or one indulgence then create a downward spiral for you.
Right. And I think that like I said, there's definitely like there's a roadmap to how to have that healthy relationship with sugar and how it works for you. And we're actually going to be doing a workshop on that, right?
We are. Our popular 10 ways to create a healthy relationship with sugar workshop is going to come back online February 26th.
Yep. And so we've, just given you a little bit about why sugar's not the best thing for you and why you're craving it so much. But we'll also talk about, really get into the effects it has on your body, and then how to kind of deconstruct those sugar cravings that you have and understand why you're having them. And then actually dive into sugar. What is it? What are the different names for sugar? How do you read labels? Understand, what's added sugar, what's natural sugar?
Well, because part of it is the education, and there's so much
Right.
confusion out there, and there's so many aliases for sugar. So you pick up a label, and most people don't even know, what the hell they're looking at, quite honestly. So we'll dive into all that, and it'll be a very interactive session. So even though it's online, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions of us, and we can answer them real time. But if you can't make the live session, you'll get a recording, and all the materials, including recipes, will all be provided to you.
And, I just want to stress again that, we're not perfect. We're not 100% sugar-free people. I definitely indulge in the things that I want to.
Absolutely.
But I'm very intentional about it. And I think Stephanie is too, she
Yes.
mentioned earlier. And I think that when you kind of retrain your brain on how to eat intuitively and eat the foods that feel right to you in that moment, if you will start to feel like your choices are feeling better, right?
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and I think you will find you crave the sugar less. And so when you do eat it, it's not because you're giving into a craving, it's because you're enjoying an experience. Or I love when I'm traveling and trying new restaurants. That's when I'm going to indulge. It's not going to be the cheap cookie at wherever, in the break room at work, or
The donut.
The donut.
The gas station donut.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have really good, high quality, homemade baked goods, or
Yes.
something that's a tradition, or again, when I'm traveling or when I'm at a nice restaurant, that's when I'm going to.
Right.
And I don't even want to use the word indulge. I'm just going to enjoy my food. And that, I think, is the difference between giving into cravings and sort of binging on sugar and just having a healthy relationship with sugar.
Yes. And it's interesting because, I used to love cakes, and chocolate chip cookies were my favorite treat ever, growing up,
with the milk, with a big glass of
I
milk.
never drank milk, but warm chocolate chip cookies. And I never imagined that I would ever not eat those. And now, I don't eat gluten anymore. So I don't even, it's been a few years now, but I don't even crave chocolate chip cookies or cakes or anything like that.
Right.
It's so interesting how your taste buds change. And
Absolutely.
sometimes I'll have something and I'll be like, oh, this is way too sweet.
My kids have even said that before, especially with some frosting and certain cookies, and they love sweets. And, but there are times when they've actually said, this is too sweet, or they kind of take a couple bites and put it away. And I don't think I ever was like that growing up. I think I just ate the whole thing. I don't think I ever took 2 bites of a cookie. But I think when you think about, for those of you who have kids, sometimes kids are better at actually tuning into their bodies and eating when they're hungry and not eating when they're full. Think about, they could be outside playing for 5 hours.
Right.
And come in and barely be hungry. And then maybe an hour later, they kind of start thinking about it. But sometimes we can take a tip from our children, actually.
Anyway, we would love to have you join us in this online workshop. Again, it's February 26th from 12 to 1:15. We will be recording it. So if you can't make it at that time, Central Time, we will email you the recording.
Yes, and this will all be linked up in the show notes. The other thing we're going to do as part of the workshop, because we do want this to be a community that we're creating in addition to the hour-long session, is we're going to do a 5-day sugar challenge. So when you sign up for this workshop, we're going to do an online community chat where we encourage you. It'll start the Monday after the workshop, so Monday through Friday, where we're going to help you reduce those sugar cravings naturally.
And just create that healthier relationship with sugar. And you can sign up at theartoflivingwell.us/programs.
And we look forward to you joining us.
Thank you so much for listening to the Art of Living Well podcast. We are so grateful that you joined us today.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend or anyone else you think may benefit from this information. We'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, and tag the Art of Living Well podcast on social media.
If you want more inspiration in between episodes, you can find us on social media at theartofliving_well on Instagram and Facebook, where we will share snippets from our daily lives and our journey to living well.